Absolutely perfect. That takes a lot of guts. You know what? That takes a lot of guts. You were perfect, Pamela. Absolutely perfect. You don't need to. You're among friends. We talked about this before. She came up here, and I said, this is just talking to people who love you. That's all this is sort of sharing a conversation with people who love you. And that's what you did so well. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful. That really is who we are. And, I wonder, with all the hymns and all the wonderful singing we have, should we have sung Happy Birthday to ourselves somewhere in the course of this? Or do the Beatles version, da-da-da-da-da-da, today is your birthday, da-da-da-da-da-da. Something like that, something of that order, because this is our 121st birthday. It is really, really cool. It is a great day, and we are in the perfect place to celebrate it. Thank you to our founders for doing it here in Colorado the same year, the same time, and making this possible for us, and we couldn't be in a more perfect place. Because here you literally do continue to perform that ministry of love that we talk about, that we really are in the love business. Our founders started that for us. You carry that out every day here, every single day. And Pamela, that's what you are now doing as your passion and as your livelihood. And we have other folks doing it here for the same reason, because they care, because it's the way they manifest that ministry every single day. We could not be in a better place. I want to thank all of you for allowing us to celebrate with you here. Literally every year, annually, we come back here, and it is because it is the perfect place to be. Absolute perfect place to be. So thank you to all the staff. I realize that whenever you've got company coming in, that means a lot of cleanup and spiff up. I'm sure there's been a lot of folks here late at night for the last 7 to 10 days getting ready for this, and you did great. All those folks who stayed late these last several days, the place looks marvelous, looks absolutely great. This looks better every year. Every year, it is just awesome. We have a wonderful blend here of things that we've come to know and come to grow comfortable with, and at the same time, new technology. At the very same time, it is the perfect blend. I also want to thank the folks who run our technology and our ministry staff, Harry, who you've already seen, and folks in the back that you haven't seen, Corey, as well as Hope and Alejandra, our stream team. Without you guys, we couldn't take this show on the road, and we do take this show on the road, believe me, from town to town to town. And that way, that's sort of our version of Maud and Ballington. That's our road show, or the streamings that we do from place to place to place. And that is the way we do it. Now, in a little bit of a twist on what Harry shared with you, I hope that the moment this ends, you tweet like crazy, okay? Like crazy, because today's tweeting is yesterday's press releases, okay? That is what people follow today. That is what they look at to see what's trending today. I hope you go nuts on it, absolutely nuts on it. That's what we need to do to spread this message with today's new technology, all the while being reverent while we're having a nice moment of worship. But then the minute that's over, let folks know what they missed. Let folks know exactly what they missed. Well, today, literally today, we celebrate that wonderful moment when literally 121 years ago, Ballington Booth read this announcement. It is quite true that after serious thought and careful deliberation, we have resolved to inaugurate a new movement. That is his exact words that he read in New York City at the Cooper Union, while an estimated 3,500 sat and listened to that. Another 5,000 milled around outside, not being able to get in and get a seat to that. People were waiting for this moment, waiting because literally earlier on March 1st, they had announced that they were going to do something like this. They weren't ready to do it yet, but on March the 1st, Ballington was quoted as saying, we are going to do something. We're going to create a new organization. Then on this day, they inaugurated that with the rally, with the gathering. And it gained such momentum that literally one of our writers, Dr. Herbert Wisby, really chronicled the first 50 or so years of our organization in a book that was later to become called The Era of the Founders. And in this book, he stated this: the contributions in the fields of American religion, social work, and criminology ensured the Volunteers of America a significant place in the religious and social history of the United States. And he attributed this to the work, literally, of our founders, of Maud and Ballington Booth. how blessed are we? How blessed are each of us today that we work inside an organization that has already been chronicled, already been seen as having made major contributions to American society in its first 50 years, as well as in this remaining last 71 years, already being chronicled as that. I'm just glad they let me in. You know, I'm just glad they let me in the room with this, because if someone had told me when I was going through college and when I was thinking about doing this for a career, going into some kind of ministry as my calling, if someone had told me I'd be working for an organization that had already been identified as having made major contributions into the human service history and religious history of the United States, I wouldn't have believed it. I wouldn't have believed it at that point. That's exactly what we have the privilege to do. That's why in many ways this is a day of thanksgiving. The prayer of thanksgiving, so perfect, because this is a day of thanksgiving for all of us that are a part of this ministry day in and day out. We give thanks today for having that opportunity, for having that chance to really share that ministry truly with the world, with the whole world. Now it's fascinating that on March 14th, God's American Volunteers, as its name, was released to the press, and then shortly thereafter it was literally shortened as a sort of nickname, being called just the Volunteers. And yet then on July 25th, in an article in our Gazette later that summer, it states that the official name was to be Volunteers of America, with the Volunteers being all that is necessary to speak of the movement. And that's sort of the specific evolution of our name within those first few months of our gathering. Now, the next thing to deal with, the next order of business for Ballington and Maud were uniforms, the identification of uniforms. And Ballington had it in his mind that he would dress the officers in brown uniforms. Now, this was met with a great deal of resistance from the women. From the women in the movement, okay, who said this was not a becoming color. Brown was not a becoming color. Now, showing his infinite wisdom, he agreed to, you decide, you tell me what you want to wear, okay? This is a smart man, okay? This is a very, way ahead of his time, and therefore agreed to cadet blue uniforms for the women and dark blue for the men. Good move, Ballington. Really good move. Now, one thing that sort of gets lost, but sort of reminds me of today a little bit, we know about the split from the Salvation Army. We know that the Salvation Army was based in England, and they were asking to withdraw, to move Maud and Ballington away from their command here in America. But what's not talked about a lot is that there was literally some international conflict at that moment through dialogue between the United States and England. There was truly an overtone there of diplomatic relations that had gotten rocky over a boundary dispute in Venezuela, of all places, between Venezuela and British Guiana, and the United States had been asked to help mediate that dispute, okay, and there had been major conflict around it, to the point that literally folks were talking about maybe going into physical conflict over it, until the leaders sort of took a deep breath and decided cooler heads need to prevail, and they calmed that down. And so literally you had this time of needing to express strong nationalism from America's point of view, having a lot of resistance and a lot of concern about their relationship with England, and there being a real sort of negative overtone to that at that moment in time. And then, perhaps by chance, this also happened within the Salvation Army making the same move. You can see sort of how this was all intertwined. In those moments, you can't separate it. It's all sort of linked together. And so literally, it was as important to Maud and Ballington to make sure that this was an American organization, so that it would never be questioned, absolutely never be questioned. And so, in the same time, Maud made sure that within our actual Constitution, in the incorporation document filed on November 6th of 1896, This quote, "It is to be distinctly understood that the Volunteers of America recognize women as man's equal, and she is to be given every right and privilege enjoyed by him in this organization." And that is a direct quote, and that is an amen. That is an amen. This is years before women had the right to vote in America. Years before. And at the same time, we also added 2 women to the first board of directors, and that was Maud and Patty Watkins Lindsay. And that was about 20% of the board at that time. Huge, huge movement, huge change. No one was doing that. No one else was doing that in the social service movement throughout the United States. No one was. And as I mentioned earlier, literally in the Constitution, our first one, it declares that we are an American institution never to be run by a foreign power. That's in there. Absolutely in there. So it helps us understand why we are so uniquely American. Now, that doesn't mean that as we start to develop territories, and now we're even doing work in Puerto Rico, and we're looking at other kinds of things, it's why we've never sort of gone international first. And you see a lot of groups that do that. We have stayed really focused on things on the mainland, but at the same time, we have branched out to things that are not in the lower 48, obviously, in Alaska and Puerto Rico, and that growth will continue. It will absolutely continue. And something else that we need to understand and appreciate as a major part of our history is that Maud's prison ministry was not something that took place after we'd gotten the organization up and running. You would think that when you first form an organization, you spend the first few years, number one, just making sure you can make ends meet, right? Make sure you keep the doors open, all right? Making sure you keep the ministry alive before you start branching out. Well, that was not the case here. Literally on May 24th in 1896, Maud had her first appearance at Sing Sing. And now keep in mind that all of her appearances, she had appeared in San Quentin in California the year before. All of her appearances were special invitations by the warden of those prisons. She did not go knocking on doors. She was invited in. And their industry was just like all industries. Once a couple of them heard her and saw the impact she had on the prisoners, they then wanted to bring her to their institution as well. Such was the desire of the warden of Sing Sing. And he invited her in. This was still early in the game. She was a little nervous. She was nervous before she went before that group at Sing Sing. Okay? And here's what she said. Here's what she quoted as how she felt about that. "I realized that what they needed from my lips was not that would more forcibly impress on them their sin or misery or their unfortunate condition, but something that would carry their thoughts away beyond the gray walls and some message from Christ's dear heart of love." Think about that. Some message from Christ's dear heart of love that would part the dark clouds and show a pure ray of light and comfort from hope's true star. I cannot tell you what I said. It was for my audience there. And I think the dear Christ himself spoke to many hearts. That's the way she described her first presentation in Sing Sing, being the first woman ever to do such a presentation in Sing Sing. And literally was the groundbreaking moment right there in 1896, not later, not after things got rolling, right in the very first year, that truly integrated our ministry into the social service movement and social justice movement across the United States. That's where she then got the hope and the dream of forming what was called the first Hope House. We have our own Hope right over there. The first Hope House, which was the first halfway house in America for folks coming out of prison. Started that in the Bronx in 1896. I mean, she didn't fool around, did she? I mean, she moved. She moved quickly on these things. And then later, 2 more in San Francisco and Chicago. That's a part of this history that we celebrate, is a part of the social justice movement that our leaders began, literally began in America. And totally with the corrections field, completely with the corrections field. And literally, all of you today who are serving America's most vulnerable today are practicing the same love ministry. You're in the love business that Maud started right there in a place where no one was feeling love. No one was feeling love inside Sing Sing or any other prison, okay, or any other community trying to welcome prisoners to integrate back into life. She was walking the talk. She was in the love business from day one, as was Ballington, and she was walking the talk from day one. It was amazing. So as they go on to lead our organization for the next 50 years, it was interesting how both of them then truly lived longer than the life expectancy of most Americans at that day and time, dying at the ages 83 and 82 respectively, when the average age life expectancy then was 60 and 65 respectively for men and women, and they were almost doubling that by 20%. So much so that reporters would come to Ballington every year because he was older than Maud, and when he got to his 80th birthday, they asked him, "Tell us what's your secret to this?" And so he gave them 10 rules for successful living. I want you to hear these 10 rules that he gave to the reporters when he turned 80. He still had 3 more years left to go. He was still plugging away. He worked every day of his life. Consider your body as the temple of the Holy Spirit and treat it with reverence and care. Keep your mind active. Stimulate it with thoughts of others that lead to doing something. Take time to be holy with daily Bible reading and prayer. Support the church of your faith. Mingle with others. I love the last one. Ballington was an extrovert. He had to be an extrovert. Cultivate the presence of God. He wants to enter your life and will as far as you let him. Take God into the details of your life. You naturally call upon him in trouble and for the bigger things. Pray for this troubled, war-threatened world and the leaders who hold the destinies of the various nations. Sounds pretty similar to today, doesn't it? Have a thankful spirit for the blessings of God, country, home, friends, and numerous other blessings. Work as if everything depended upon work, and pray as if everything depended upon prayer. That may be my favorite one of all. Think of death not as something to be dreaded, but as a great and new experience where loved ones are met and ambitions realized. I think his 10 steps, his 10 rules are as applicable today as the year that he shared them with us. It's amazing. So we have an incredible, glorious past. I want to shift gears and bring us just for a moment into the present. And fast forward into today, into right now. And our sort of a state of our ministry would be that the ministry of love is as strong today as ever. As ever. We've just completed having ministers' retreats and a church governing board retreat where we literally reached out for specific training on diversity and inclusion, undertaking a deep dive on this as a very crucial topic for us to totally understand so we can then share with others at a time when we want to truly be as inclusive as we possibly can and truly practice our love message with everything, every aspect of our life. It's just as strong today as it was 121 years ago. We're working just as hard today to improve what we do and improve ourselves as people so that we make sure that we live this ministry every day. At the same time, we have a growing number of folks coming to the ministry every day inside Volunteers of America. The list keeps getting longer and longer and longer. We just released it last week, getting ready to have their commissioning service coming up in a couple of months. It couldn't be growing any better. Our new work in moral injury continues to gain momentum. It continues to gain this momentum with a book to be published in the next couple of months of various essays written by those who have experienced this and how they seek to share that experience, along with more successful trainings that we've had in Oklahoma recently. as well as proposals being submitted for funders who have expressed an interest in taking this to the next step for us. No, it's helping us learn to do what we do even better, with even better results. Continuing to reach deep, doing what Maud would have us do and what Ballington would have us do, not sitting still, but moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, looking forward in the next 8 weeks to a national conference that dovetails with our Volunteers of America LPGA golf tournament, where you get to do both for one. You get a 2-for-1. It's the ultimate happy hour, if you will, spread out over about 6 days. We encourage you to come because we're going to have the awards dinner of all awards dinners at the end of this, where we're going to combine our traditional awards dinner with our Pro-Am pairings event. And we rented this small facility called AT&T Cowboy Stadium to have it in. On the field, no joke. That's an absolute fact. We're going to do it on the field. You'll see yourself on the big scoreboard. And there's some things I'm going to share with you that I'm not supposed to share with you, so don't tell anybody yet. Okay? Because we're still working on one of the contracts. But keep the cameras rolling. The person that we're going to honor that night with our highest award, our Booth Award, is former First Lady Laura Bush. We're still working out all the final details on that, but the date is on hold. It is there. Because you know why we're doing that? Because we believe that just as Maud and Ballington started an organization that absolutely involved First Ladies and leaders of our country, we think we deserve that, and we think you deserve that. And so we're going to have that night. We're going to have that there. We have other award winners. Our award winner for the Soul Repair Award, an award serving those who serve veterans, and recognizing that and lifting that up, is a man that is a media personality. His name is David Faraday. He's an NBC and Golf Channel analyst. His show is the highest rated show on the sports channels there, and he is a diagnosed bipolar and is on about 10 meds a day, he tells us, and also in recovery for the last 10 years. And he started a foundation 8 years ago called Troops First for our veterans, and takes a tremendous amount of his personal time and resources to fund that. And he will be with us that night to accept our Soul Repair Award, and has already asked if he could volunteer to do a commercial for us because he believes so much in what we do. So we're going to have a very, very high-profile event that night, and that's something that Maud and Ballington would be proud of. They would absolutely be proud of. And so, in addition to that, we've just completed having literally a week of governance opportunity last week in Washington, D.C., where we brought our national board, all the CEOs from around the country, including our church governing board, all met the same week and spent a day on Capitol Hill taking the issues that we care about, the programs that you run right here around housing, around criminal justice, okay? All of those to the Hill and meeting with their individual Congress representatives, congressional representatives, and having tremendous dialogue. Again, not a part of a political movement, a part of a social justice and advocacy as a part of our ministry to support America's most vulnerable. And it acted almost like a team builder for the whole organization. I've never seen the whole organization unite from every faction in such a way to literally go out and carry that message into literally the halls of Congress, literally into the halls of Congress. So the present is absolutely moving. It's absolutely moving. And now I want to share with you a bit about the future. So what does our future hold? I think our future is incredibly bright. We got a peek into that last year when we launched a project focused on millennials, focused on the millennial demographic, to identify who our folks are, learn from them, hear their thoughts and ideas, see the innovative ideas that came from them, and continue to organize that and work with that and cultivate that year in and year out so that we're ready not just for the future but even for the present. And I, for one, am incredibly excited about the ideas that I heard and the energy that I saw coming from that. And we're going to continue to cultivate that. In addition to that, we have advantages that our predecessors didn't have. We have a growing brand right now, and we're going to try to capitalize on that at every opportunity. In addition to that, we have mind-blowing technology. I mean, mind-blowing technology that we could hardly keep up with. And that's why I said what I said in the beginning. We're going to keep up with it. And you know why? Because it's what's going to take us to that next level. We're going to make sure that the millennials and the population that comes after the millennials can hear from us and hear about us. And we keep that in front of them. Because that's the way Martin Ballington would do it today. That's the way Jesus would do it today. You can bet Jesus would be on Twitter today. Okay? Absolutely would be on Twitter today. I absolutely believe that. And so we're going to do everything that we think either Martin Ballington or Jesus would do. We're going to do that going forward. In addition, we've got new relationships that allow us to be nimble in the field and at the same time well connected in the nation's capital. And that's the balance. That's what we have to do. That's what our ministry is. Literally, the secret weapon that we've always had, though, is our faith. That's our secret weapon. You see, that's what not everybody else has. We have it. We have it. We celebrate it. And we've learned how to share that in ways that make people comfortable, not uncomfortable with it. And that's what's so crucial. It was in our founders' vision. They had it. It's in our current family's capacity. And it's in our God to bless us. We have the faith in our God to bless us with wild success. This is the faith that carries us into the future. Shall we pray? Dear God, give us the perseverance to withstand trial, strength to prepare with dedication and energy, the courage to practice stewardship for those we represent, and the passion to take our ministry of love to unseen levels. Amen.